My parents told me I was on my own financially, then bought my sister a condo for her 21st. I quietly moved to another state. For years later, my thesis made national news, and they saw on Facebook like everyone else. I never thought I'd be telling this story out loud. But after everything that's happened, after feeling that gut-wrenching betrayal, and then seeing how it all played out, I need to get it out there. My name is Anita, and this is about how my parents' blatant favoritism completely blew up in their faces, spectacularly, in a way they absolutely never saw coming. From the moment my younger sister, Emma, was born, when I was just 3, it was clear who the star of the family was. Emma was this vibrant, charming kid who could just make everyone adore her. Me? I was the quiet one, the bookworm, the one who apparently just wasn't as interesting. The favoritism wasn't subtle, not even a little bit. If Emma wanted dance classes, art lessons, or those super expensive summer camps, the money just appeared. No questions asked. But when I, the kid getting straight A's and excelling in advanced math, asked for a scientific calculator, I was told to just make do with the old basic one we had lying around. Then came the Sweet 16. Emma got a brand new Honda Civic with a big, ridiculous bow on top, straight out of a car commercial. Me? I got driving lessons. I was supposed to be grateful, right? But deep down, it stung. I told myself it was fine. I was the academic one, the responsible one. And I proved it, maintaining a 4.0 GPA, earning scholarships, and getting into a prestigious university for biomedical engineering. My parents acted proud, in their distant way, but their praise always felt so hollow compared to the genuine, overflowing joy they'd show when Emma scored a goal or landed a tiny part in a school play. The real slap in the face, the moment I truly woke up, came during my senior year of high school. I was drowning in college application stress, especially about finances. Even with my partial scholarship, I'd need help with room, board, books, everything. An engineering program is intense. Working full-time wasn't realistic if I wanted to succeed. So, one evening, I tried to talk to them. Dad was buried in his newspaper, Mom was folding laundry, the TV droning on in the background. My stomach was a knot of anxiety. I need to talk to you both about college expenses, I started, my voice barely a whisper. Dad barely glanced up, giving me that annoyed look he always had when practical matters interrupted his evening. Mom didn't even look at me. Anita, we've discussed this, she said, her voice flat. You got scholarships for a reason. You're smart enough to figure it out. I pulled out all my financial aid documents, trying to show them the numbers. But the partial scholarship only covers about 60% of tuition. With room and board, lab fees, Dad cut me off, his voice firm, final. You'll need to get loans. Work more hours at the grocery store. You're 18 now, Anita. You're on your own financially. It's time you learn to be independent. On your own financially. Those words hit me like a physical blow. Something cold and heavy settled in my chest, but I just nodded, walked to my room, and spent the night applying for every loan I could find. The math was brutal, but I made it work. I always did. College was a grind. Not academically, that part came naturally, but financially and emotionally. I worked 25 hours a week at the campus bookstore, took out massive loans, and lived on ramen and peanut butter. My roommate, Jessica, came from a world of care packages and spending money. She'd invite me out, but I almost always had to say no. I couldn't relate to her easy life. I still called home every Sunday, mostly talking to Mom while Dad watched football. Emma was thriving, of course. Drama club, cheerleading, dating a guy Dad actually liked. When I shared my own achievements, Dean's List, research programs, a biotech internship, the responses were polite, brief. That's nice, honey, Mom would say, before launching into a detailed account of Emma's latest triumph. I started calling less and less. Then came my junior year. I was selected for an exclusive research program with Dr. Martinez, developing biodegradable medical implants. It was groundbreaking work, the kind of opportunity that could define a career, and I was one of only 3 undergraduates chosen nationwide. I called home, genuinely excited for the first time in months. Mom's response was lukewarm, almost dismissive. That sounds very time-consuming, Anita. Are you sure you're not taking on too much? I tried to explain the significance, the graduate school possibilities, the PhD opportunities, but I could hear Emma laughing in the background, and Mom just kept getting distracted. Well, as long as you're happy, she said finally. Oh, Emma just got asked to prom by the sweetest boy. We're going dress shopping this weekend. I hung up, feeling more isolated than ever before. That was it. That was the moment I decided. I stopped competing for their attention. I stopped calling every week. I poured myself into my research, my studies, and, most importantly, into building relationships with people who actually valued me, who saw my potential. Dr. Martinez became a true mentor. My research partners, Kevin and Lisa, became my closest friends. For the first time, I felt like I truly belonged somewhere. I was so consumed by my work that I almost missed the group text that shattered everything. It was a Saturday morning, senior year. I was in the lab, running tests on our latest prototype, when my phone buzzed. It was Emma, in our family chat. Guys, I can't believe it. Then, photo after photo. A stunning 2-bedroom condo, granite countertops, hardwood floors, a balcony overlooking a lake. All new furniture, plush sofas, a dining table that probably cost more than my food budget for 6 months. My phone kept buzzing. Emma, Mom and Dad surprised me for my 21st birthday. I'm officially a homeowner. Mom, our baby girl deserves the best. So proud of you, Emma. Dad, hope you love it, sweetheart. You've earned it, Emma. And Emma's gushing response. I can't stop crying happy tears. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Best parents ever. I just stared at my phone in the empty, humming lab. A condo. A beautiful, expensive condo. They'd bought Emma a condo for her 21st. These were the same parents who told me I was on my own financially, who watched me struggle through college, taking out loans, eating ramen. They'd just bought their younger daughter a home that probably cost more than my entire education. I sat there for 20 minutes, just scrolling through the congratulatory messages, heart emojis, and photos of Emma posing by the front door with a giant bow stuck to it. Nobody noticed my silence. Nobody asked where I was. That's when something inside me didn't just break, it shifted. It was like trying to force a key into the wrong lock for years, and then suddenly realizing you don't even need that lock anymore. I was done. I didn't respond. I didn't call to congratulate Emma. I didn't ask my parents how they suddenly found money for a condo when they couldn't help with my textbooks. I just turned off my phone and went back to work. That weekend, I made a series of decisions that I knew would change everything. First, I met with Dr. Martinez. Not just about graduate school, but about programs that would take me far away, full funding, amazing research, and a complete change of scenery. Second, I started looking into legally changing my name and updating my address records. I wanted my future achievements to be mine, untraceable to a family who only wanted to ride my coattails when it was convenient. Third, I meticulously documented every single detail of my research. Something told me it would be important. Dr. Martinez was incredibly supportive. I kept the family drama vague, focusing on my academic goals. Anita, your work on the biodegradable cardiac stents has been exceptional, she told me, her office lined with awards. I've been speaking with colleagues at Stanford, MIT, Johns Hopkins. They're all interested. I told her I needed full funding and preferably the West or East Coast. A complete change. She nodded, understanding that need for independence. I have the perfect opportunity, she said, pulling out a folder. Stanford is starting a new 5-year PhD program with full funding, health benefits, and a generous stipend. It builds directly on your work here. My heart pounded. Stanford. Full funding. A chance to work with a leading researcher. What do I need to do? I asked. Your grades and research speak for themselves. I'll write you a recommendation. The main requirement is commitment and a willingness to relocate. Relocate. The word tasted like freedom. I applied that week. Within a month, I was accepted, full fellowship, research assistantship, a stipend that would actually let me live comfortably. For the first time in my life, someone truly believed in me. The hardest part was not telling my family. Part of me yearned to call, to hear pride in their voices, to feel like their daughter again. But every time I picked up the phone, I saw Emma's condo, her beaming face, my parents' easy generosity for their golden child. So I stayed silent. I finished my senior year quietly. I graduated summa cum laude with highest honors, but I didn't invite my family. I told them it was just a small departmental ceremony, nothing special. They didn't push. The truth was, it was beautiful. Dr. Martinez spoke. I was recognized. My lab partners, Kevin and Lisa, were there. It was perfect, without the complication of family drama. 2 weeks later, I packed everything I owned into my beaten-up Honda and drove to California. I left a note for Jessica, forwarded my mail, and updated my emergency contacts to Dr. Martinez instead of my parents. I didn't tell them I was moving until I was already gone. My text was brief. Started a PhD program at Stanford. New phone number. New address. We'll be pretty busy with research for the next few years. The responses were immediate and exactly what I expected. Mom, Stanford? Why didn't you tell us you were applying? We would have helped you move. Dad, congratulations, honey. That's a big step. Call us when you get settled. Emma, OMG, Anita, that's amazing. California is so cool. I didn't respond. I was done with the performance of being a grateful daughter. Stanford was everything I dreamed. Dr. Martinez's lab was cutting edge. My fellow graduate students were brilliant. The resources were mind-blowing. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who were as passionate about scientific discovery as I was. My research focused on smart biomaterials that could adapt to the human body. It was complex, challenging, demanding long hours, but I loved every minute. Dr. Martinez was an incredible mentor. She encouraged me to think outside the box. And I love the distance from my family, both physical and emotional. My parents called occasionally, mostly holidays or my birthday. The conversations were polite, superficial. They'd ask about school, I'd give brief updates. They'd gush about Emma. She'd graduated with a communications degree, working at a marketing firm, engaged to Marcus. You'll be Emma's maid of honor, of course, Mom said once. I'll have to see if I can get time off, I replied, non-committally. I had zero intention of going. By then, I was deep into my dissertation research. I sent a nice gift from the registry and a polite card declining. Emma's thank you note radiated hurt feelings, but I didn't care. They'd made their priorities clear when they bought her a condo. Years passed. I published papers, presented at conferences, built my reputation. My dissertation research was going incredibly well. I was developing a new type of biodegradable cardiac stent that could promote healing while dissolving harmlessly in the body. Early testing showed it could revolutionize heart surgery and save thousands of lives. Dr. Martinez was thrilled. Anita, this work is groundbreaking. We need to publish in Nature or Science. I was in my 4th year when everything changed. I was working on a particularly challenging aspect, controlling the dissolution rate of the stent material to match heart tissue healing. It required a new polymer matrix, incredibly complex chemistry. The breakthrough came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. I was alone in the lab, running what felt like the 1000th iteration, when suddenly, everything clicked. The polymer behaved exactly as I'd theorized. The dissolution rate was perfect. Biocompatibility tests were off the charts. I called Dr. Martinez immediately, not caring about the time. You did it, she said, after I explained. Anita, you actually did it. This is going to change everything. She was right. Within weeks, we confirmed my smart stent design could reduce recovery time by 30% and virtually eliminate complications from permanent implants. The medical device industry took notice. We submitted to Nature and got accepted in 8 months, impressive for such a competitive journal. The paper was slated for October publication, and Nature's press team was talking cover story. But the real game-changer came when Dr. Martinez forwarded me an email that made my hands shake. Anita, it began. From a Science Times journalist, we'd like to feature your cardiac stent research in our upcoming issue on medical breakthroughs. This work has the potential to save millions of lives, and we want to tell your story. Science Times. the publication that turns academic researchers into household names. The interviews were surreal. Reporters wanted everything: my background, inspiration, future plans. I talked technical aspects, years of trial and error applications. I carefully avoided mentioning my family, sticking to scientific curiosity as my motivation. Photographers took dozens of shots of me in the lab. In one, I'm holding a tiny prototype stent, smiling, a genuine smile, for the first time in years. In another, I'm at my computer, complex molecular models glowing on multiple monitors. I didn't tell my family any of this. The article was set to publish on a Thursday in October. Dr. Martinez planned a lab celebration. Medical device companies were already reaching out about licensing. My dissertation defense was next month. I had multiple job offers. I was finally, completely, utterly independent and successful beyond anything my parents had ever achieved. Wednesday night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, knowing it would go live at midnight Eastern. When it finally appeared, I read it 3 times. The headline was perfect. 23-year-old PhD student develops revolutionary heart stent that could save millions. The article was everything I'd hoped for, explaining the breakthrough, quoting cardiologists, highlighting commercial possibilities. The photos were perfect. But the part that made me truly smile was the author bio at the end. Aita Martinez is a biomedical engineering PhD candidate at Stanford University. Aita Martinez. I'd legally changed my name 2 years earlier, taking Dr. Martinez's surname to honor the mentor who believed in me when my own family didn't. It also ensured my parents couldn't easily connect my achievements to their daughter, Aita. The article went viral immediately. By Friday morning, it had been shared hundreds of thousands of times. Medical professionals called it a breakthrough. Investment firms reached out. News stations wanted interviews. I was in the lab, trying to process the sudden attention, when my old phone, the one I kept but rarely used, started buzzing. Text after text after text. Mom, Aita, is this you? Call me immediately. Dad, just saw the Science Times article. We need to talk. Emma, holy Aita, is this real? You're famous. Mom, your father is calling Stanford right now. Why didn't you tell us? Emma, everyone is sharing this article about you. Mom is crying. Dad. Aita Marie, call home now. I stared at the messages, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just a calm, detached observation. They'd finally noticed me. My new phone rang. Dr. Martinez. Aita, congratulations. The article is everywhere. NPR wants to interview you this afternoon, and Good Morning America is asking about a live appearance next week. That's incredible, I said, still looking at the frantic messages from my family. I'm ready for whatever comes next. There's something else, she continued. The patent office fast-tracked your applications. 3 major medical device companies are in a bidding war for licensing rights. We're talking about substantial money, Aita. Enough to fund your own research lab. A genuine smile spread across my face. My own lab. Aita Martinez's Biomaterials Research Institute, I mused. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? After I hung up, I sat in the quiet lab, thinking about the journey that brought me here. 5 years ago, I was a struggling student eating ramen, wondering if my parents would ever be proud. Now, I was on the verge of a medical revolution, financially independent beyond anything I'd imagined. My old phone was still buzzing. Dozens of texts from parents, Emma, extended family, even old high school friends who'd seen the article. Everyone wanted to reconnect, to celebrate, to be part of my success. The irony was perfect. They told me I was on my own. I took them at their word. I became successful entirely without their help. And now they wanted back in. I crafted a single response and sent it to the family group chat. Thank you for the congratulations. I'm sure you can understand that I'm incredibly busy with interviews and business meetings related to my research. I'll be in touch when my schedule allows. It was polite, professional, and completely non-committal. The responses were immediate and increasingly desperate. Mom, Aita, please call me. I don't understand why you changed your name. We're so proud of you. Dad, we saw the article says you're starting a company. We'd love to discuss investment opportunities. Emma, Anita, I'm so sorry we lost touch. I had no idea you were doing such amazing work. Can we please talk? Mom, I've been telling everyone about my brilliant daughter. Mrs. Peterson from next door saw the article and said she always knew you were special. I almost laughed at that last one. Mrs. Peterson, who watched me mow her lawn for spending money while Emma got an allowance for doing nothing. Over the next few weeks, the media attention intensified. I appeared on Good Morning America, NPR, several podcasts. The New York Times ran a follow-up feature. Forbes included me in their 30 Under 30 list. Each article briefly mentioned my background. Stanford PhD student, originally from the Midwest, first in her family to pursue advanced scientific education. I kept personal details minimal, focusing on the research. Meanwhile, my family's attempts to contact me became more frantic, more manipulative. Mom started calling from different numbers when I stopped answering the main one. Her voicemails started apologetic and quickly grew angry. Anita, I don't understand why you're shutting us out. We're your family. We love you. Call me back. Then, Anita, it's not fair to punish us like this. We did our best raising you. We're proud of your success. And finally, Anita Marie, this is ridiculous. You can't cut off your family because of some perceived slight from years ago. We never meant to hurt you. Perceived slight. That phrase told me everything I needed to know about how they viewed the situation. Dad tried a different approach. Emails about business opportunities, family investment partnerships. He'd apparently done research on biotech startups and wanted to discuss how the family could participate in Anita's success. Emma's messages were the most manipulative. She alternated between hurt feelings and fake sisterly bonding. Anita, I miss you so much. I never realized how much I depended on having you in my life. Please don't let this success change who you are. Then, I saw your interview on Good Morning America and I cried. I'm so proud to be your sister. Marcus and I are thinking about starting a family soon. I want my kids to know they're brilliant, Aunt Anita. Please don't let whatever happened between us keep you from being part of our lives. I didn't respond to any of it. The breakthrough moment came when I received a LinkedIn message from someone I didn't recognize. Hi, Anita. I'm A, journalist working on a follow-up piece about your family's reaction to your success. I understand there may be an interesting backstory about your relationship with your parents. Would you be interested in sharing your perspective? Someone had been digging. Probably my parents, trying to leverage my success for their own attention. That's when I decided it was time to take control of the narrative. I scheduled another interview with Science Times. This time, I was ready to share the whole truth. Dr. Martinez, the interviewer began, your rapid rise in the biomed field is remarkable. Can you tell us about your journey and what motivated you to pursue this research? I took a deep breath. I think it's important for young scientists to understand that success often comes from finding your own path, even when that path isn't supported by the people you'd expect to be in your corner. I told the story carefully, factually. I explained how I'd been told I was on my own financially for college, while my parents bought my sister a condo. I described working multiple jobs, taking loans, funding my education independently. I talked about changing my name, moving across the country. The irony, I concluded, is that being forced to become independent actually made me stronger and more determined. When you can't rely on family support, you learn to build your own support network. My research mentors, lab colleagues, and academic community became my chosen family. The interviewer was fascinated. How do you feel about your birth family's recent attempts to reconnect? I think it speaks to a common phenomenon in families, I said, diplomatically. Sometimes people only value achievements they can understand, or that reflect well on them. My parents didn't see the value in supporting a struggling science student, but they're very interested in being associated with a successful researcher who's getting media attention. The article, titled The Price of Independence: How Family Rejection Fueled a Medical Breakthrough, was published 3 weeks later. It was even more widely shared than the original. Social media exploded with support from others who'd experienced favoritism. Scientists shared their own stories. The hashtag chosen family started trending. More importantly for me, it attracted investors and collaborators who respected my independence and determination. Within a month, I'd secured funding for my startup and assembled a team of brilliant researchers. My birth family's reaction was predictable. Emma posted a long, emotional Facebook message about family misunderstandings being blown out of proportion, praying for healing and reconciliation. She included childhood photos, talking about how much she missed her amazing big sister. Mom gave an interview to a local paper, claiming she'd always been supportive and there had been miscommunications about financial assistance. She said they were heartbroken by my decision to cut contact and hoped I'd come home soon. Dad remained silent publicly, but I heard through mutual connections that he was telling people I was ungrateful. The most telling response came when Emma announced her pregnancy on social media. The post included a direct appeal: "I can't wait for Aunt Anita to meet her nephew or niece. I hope my sister will put aside whatever hurt feelings exist and be part of our family again. This baby needs to know how brilliant and accomplished their aunt is." It was emotional manipulation at its finest. And I didn't fall for it. Instead, I focused on building something extraordinary. My company, Martinez Biomedical Solutions, launched 8 months after that second article. We secured partnerships with major hospitals for clinical trials, obtained FDA fast-track approval for our smart stent, and raised $15 million in funding. The day we announced our first successful human trials, showing a 45% reduction in complications and 30% faster recovery times, I felt a satisfaction that had nothing to do with proving anything to my family, and everything to do with knowing I was saving lives. That evening, on the news, a reporter asked about my motivation. "When you're forced to rely entirely on yourself," I said, looking directly into the camera, "you discover capabilities you never knew you had. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to prove that you're stronger than the circumstances that tried to limit you." I never mentioned my family, but anyone who followed my story understood the message. The success continued. Our stents received full FDA approval. Major medical centers worldwide implemented our technology. I was invited to speak at international conferences, offered prestigious research positions. 3 years after that first article, Forbes featured me on their cover as one of the most innovative entrepreneurs in healthcare. The headline read, "The Heart Revolutionary: How Dr. Anita Martinez Built a Medical Empire from Scratch." It detailed my journey, emphasizing the independence and determination that drove me. It mentioned my family background only briefly, noting I'd overcome early challenges to build my own support network. By this point, my birth family had largely stopped trying to contact me directly. Occasionally, Emma would post something on social media, usually around holidays. Mom would leave voicemails on my old number, her tone cycling between hurt, anger, and back to hurt. But I was done with it all. I had built exactly the life I wanted. I had a team of brilliant researchers working on the next generation of medical technologies. Financial security beyond anything I'd imagined as a broke college student. Respect and recognition in my field. Most importantly, I had a chosen family, colleagues, mentors, and friends who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them. Dr. Martinez, who I now call Linda, is like the mother I never had. Someone who believed in my potential even when I didn't believe in it myself. The final piece of poetic justice came 4 years later. I was at a biomed engineering conference in Chicago when I ran into David Rodriguez, an old high school classmate. He recognized me from the media and came over. "Anita, I can't believe it's you. I saw your Forbes cover story. That's incredible what you've built." We chatted for a few minutes, then he mentioned something that made me pause. "I actually saw your parents a few months ago at the grocery store back home. They were telling Mrs. Peterson all about their daughter, the famous scientist. Your mom showed her pictures from your magazine articles on her phone." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yeah." She was going on and on about how proud they are, how they always knew you'd do something amazing. She said they're planning to visit you in California soon to see your labs. I almost laughed. "That's interesting." David looked confused by my reaction. "Wait, are they not actually planning to visit?" "David," I said carefully, "I haven't spoken to my parents in over 5 years. They have no idea where I work or live." His face went through several expressions. Oh. Oh, wow. She was acting like. I mean, she seemed so proud and involved. I'm sure she was, I said. People often take credit for successes they had nothing to do with. That conversation confirmed everything. They wanted a daughter who would make them look good. And in the end, that's exactly what they got. Except I wasn't actually their daughter anymore, not in any meaningful sense. I was Dr. Anita Martinez, successful entrepreneur and medical innovator, who just happened to share some DNA with people who had never believed in her potential. The last message I received from any of them was a Facebook message from Emma last Christmas. Anita, I know you probably won't read this, but I wanted you to know that I tell my son about his Aunt Anita all the time. I show him pictures of you from magazines and tell him how smart and successful you are. I hope someday you'll meet him. He'd be so lucky to know you. I love you and I'm sorry for whatever I did to lose you. I read it once and then I deleted it. The truth is, I don't feel angry anymore. I don't feel hurt or rejected or like I'm missing out on family connections. What I feel is grateful. My parents did me the biggest favor of my life when they told me I was on my own financially. They forced me to become independent, to build my own support network, to rely on my own capabilities. Without that rejection, I might have stayed close to home, accepted mediocrity, and never pushed myself to achieve something extraordinary. Emma got a condo for her 21st birthday. I got the motivation to change the world. I think I got the better deal. Today, I'm 30 years old. I run a company valued at over $75 million. Our medical devices have been used in over 15,000 surgeries worldwide. I own a beautiful home in Palo Alto, drive my dream car, and travel internationally for conferences. More importantly, I'm surrounded by people who chose to be in my life because they value who I am and what I contribute. My team at the company feels like family. My research collaborators are friends I genuinely enjoy spending time with. And Linda, Dr. Martinez, is truly like the mother I never had. Sometimes, I wonder if my birth family sees my success and regrets their choices. I wonder if they understand that their rejection wasn't just a missed opportunity to support me, but a missed opportunity to be part of something meaningful and groundbreaking. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. I'm too busy building the future. A lot of people ask if I ever plan to reconcile with my family. The answer is no. And here's why. Reconciliation requires acknowledgement of wrongdoing and genuine change. What I've seen from my family is public posturing, emotional manipulation, and transparent attempts to benefit from a success they did nothing to support. Real family isn't about shared DNA. It's about showing up, believing in each other, and supporting each other through difficult times. My chosen family has done that consistently. My birth family proved they're only interested in the highlight reel. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with exactly the people who belong in my life. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't some dramatic confrontation. It's building something so extraordinary that the people who rejected you become completely irrelevant to your happiness. They said I was on my own financially. They were right. And that independence became the foundation of everything I've achieved. I wouldn't change a single thing. They said I was on my own financially. They were right. And that independence became the foundation of everything I've achieved. I wouldn't change a single thing. That's where I left off, isn't it? With the Forbes cover story, the booming company, the chosen family. It sounds like a perfect ending, wrapped up with a neat little bow. And for a while, it felt like it was. But life, and especially success, isn't a static destination. It's a relentless current, pulling you forward, often into deeper, more turbulent waters than you ever expected. The immediate aftermath of the Forbes article was a whirlwind. My phone, the new one, the one that only my chosen family and professional contacts had, was ringing off the hook. Investors, strategic partners, pharmaceutical giants looking to collaborate. Suddenly everyone wanted a piece of Martinez Biomedical Solutions. My team, my brilliant, dedicated team, grew exponentially. Kevin and Lisa, my original lab partners, became my head of research and chief operations officer, respectively. Linda, my mentor, Dr. Martinez, became the chairwoman of our scientific advisory board, offering wisdom and guidance that was truly invaluable. She was the calm in every storm, the voice of reason when I felt overwhelmed. Being a CEO wasn't just about groundbreaking science anymore. It was about managing people, navigating corporate politics, and making tough financial decisions. There were days I missed the quiet solitude of the lab, the pure intellectual challenge of the polymer matrix. Now, my days were packed with meetings, board presentations, legal reviews, and strategic planning. But through it all, the core mission remained: saving lives. And that kept me going, fueled by a purpose far greater than any personal vendetta. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. While I was building an empire, my birth family was still trying to claw their way back in, albeit with diminishing returns. Emma's social media posts became less frequent, less overtly manipulative. More like wistful echoes, hinting at family gatherings I wasn't at, veiled apologies mixed with passive-aggressive attempts to solicit sympathy. Mom's voicemails to my old number became sporadic, her anger replaced by a weary sadness that almost made me feel something. Almost. But then I'd remember the condo, the perceived slight, the years of emotional neglect, and the walls I'd built would snap back into place. They had chosen their path, and I had chosen mine. Just when I thought the biggest challenges were behind me, life threw another curveball, this time from an unexpected direction. We were preparing for our Series C funding round, a massive undertaking that would solidify our position as a leader in the medical device industry. Everything was on track. Our revenue projections were strong, our clinical trials were exceeding expectations, and our intellectual property seemed rock solid. Or so I thought. One Tuesday morning, Linda called me into her office, her face uncharacteristically grim. "Anita, we have a problem. A big one." She handed me a sheaf of papers. "Legal just got these. A patent infringement lawsuit. From Atherton Medical. Atherton Medical. Our biggest competitor, a corporate behemoth that had dominated the cardiac stent market for decades. They were notorious for their aggressive legal tactics and their tendency to squash smaller, innovative companies." My stomach dropped. "They're claiming our smart stent technology infringes on their existing patents for biodegradable materials," Linda explained, her voice tight. "It's a bluff, of course. Our polymer matrix is completely novel, chemically distinct. But they have deep pockets and a history of dragging these things out until the smaller company simply runs out of money." This wasn't just a legal battle, it was an existential threat. A patent lawsuit of this magnitude could cripple us financially, scare off investors, and delay the rollout of our life-saving technology indefinitely. My passion for scientific discovery was now tangled in the ugly world of corporate warfare. The next few months were a blur of depositions, expert testimonies, and endless meetings with our legal team. Atherton's lawyers were relentless, twisting every technical detail, every research paper, every quote I'd ever given, trying to find a crack in our armor. They even tried to paint me as an opportunist, implying my undergraduate research was somehow derivative of existing work. It was infuriating. I spent sleepless nights poring over patent documents, scientific literature, anything to bolster our defense. My chosen family, Linda, Kevin, Lisa, and the entire team, rallied around me, working tirelessly, picking up the slack, offering unwavering support. They believed in me, in our technology, in our mission. That belief was my anchor in the storm. During one particularly grueling week, after a brutal deposition where Atherton's lead counsel tried to belittle my academic background and question the originality of my work, I found myself sitting alone in my office, staring out at the Palo Alto skyline. The pressure was immense. Every decision I made, every word I uttered, felt like it carried the weight of hundreds of employees and countless patients waiting for our device. A wave of exhaustion, emotional and physical, washed over me. For a fleeting moment, I thought of my parents. I thought of how easy it would have been to just give up, to let someone else handle it, to retreat into the comfort of a life where someone else was footing the bill, making the hard choices. But that wasn't me. That was the old Anita, the one who tried desperately to earn their approval. The new Anita, the one they'd forced to be independent, didn't give up. She fought. I called Linda. "They're trying to wear us down," I said, my voice hoarse. They want us to fold. I know, sweetie, she replied, her voice soft but firm. But we won't. We have the science, we have the truth. And we have each other. Her words were a balm. She understood. She knew the loneliness of being at the top, the relentless demands, the constant need to project strength even when you felt like crumbling. She reminded me of why we started, of the lives we were going to save. The lawsuit dragged on for nearly a year. It was costly, distracting, and emotionally draining. But we didn't break. We countersued for anti-competitive practices, turning the tables on Atherton. We brought in our own team of expert witnesses, all leading figures in biomaterials, who dismantled Atherton's claims piece by piece. My carefully documented research, the meticulous lab notes I'd taken since undergrad, became invaluable evidence, proving the originality and novelty of my work beyond a shadow of a doubt. Remember how I said I started documenting everything? Something told me it would be important. It was. In the end, Atherton Medical, facing mounting legal costs and the very real threat of a public relations nightmare, offered to settle. Not just settle, but to license our technology, becoming a major strategic partner. It was a stunning victory. We didn't just survive, we thrived. The settlement provided us with a massive influx of capital, validating our patents and cementing our position in the market. The legal battle, though terrifying, had inadvertently propelled us onto an even bigger stage. With the lawsuit behind us, the company grew from strength to strength. Our smart stent received full FDA approval for a wider range of indications, and we expanded our clinical trials globally. I found myself traveling constantly, speaking at international medical conferences, meeting with surgeons and patients whose lives had been transformed by our technology. There was one particularly poignant moment in Berlin, after a symposium, when a woman approached me, tears in her eyes. "Dr. Martinez," she said, her voice trembling, "your stent, it saved my husband's life. He's healthy again. We're going to be grandparents next year." Her gratitude was palpable, pure, and it resonated deep within my soul. That's why I do this. That's the real success. Despite all this, there was still a quiet corner of my heart that held a lingering echo, a question about the family I had left behind. Not that I miss them, not in the way one misses a loving family, but I often wondered about Emma's child. The child she'd used as emotional leverage, the one she hoped would bring me back into the fold. I had hardened my heart to the pleas and manipulations, but an innocent child was different. I'd chosen to maintain my distance, believing it was for the best, that engaging would only perpetuate the cycle. But sometimes, late at night, a tiny voice in my head would whisper, "What if?" The what if came knocking, not directly at my door, but through the digital grapevine. My old high school friend, Jessica, the one who came from a family of care packages, messaged me out of the blue. We hadn't talked much since college, just the occasional happy birthday message. Her tone was urgent. "Anita, I know you probably won't respond, but I had to try. It's about Emma. Her son, Ethan, he's having serious heart problems. He's only 5. They've tried everything. The doctors are talking about needing a new kind of stent, one that's still experimental, designed for growth. I saw your name in all the articles, and I know your company specializes in that. I know you two are estranged, but maybe you could just look at his case? For him." My heart seized. Ethan, Emma's son, a 5-year-old with serious heart problems. The very thing my technology was designed to address. This wasn't about Emma or my parents. This was about a child. My chosen family and I were building a legacy around saving lives, and here was a life, a direct connection to my past, hanging in the balance. I didn't reply to Jessica immediately. I stared at the message, the words blurring. This was the ultimate test. Could I separate the professional from the personal, the ethical imperative from the emotional baggage? I knew, intellectually, that the child was innocent, undeserving of the sins of his mother or grandparents. But the thought of re-engaging, even peripherally, with the people who had caused me so much pain sent a jolt of anxiety through me. I called Linda. I told her about the message, about Ethan. She listened patiently, her silence a comforting presence. "Anita," she said finally, "this is your decision. As a scientist, as a doctor, you have a responsibility to alleviate suffering where you can. As a human, you have to protect your peace. These two paths aren't always separate, but they need careful navigation." Her wisdom cut through the emotional noise. She wasn't telling me what to do, but guiding me to my own moral compass. My responsibility. My peace. The next day, I had our head of clinical research, Dr. Ramirez, discreetly look into Ethan's case. Without revealing my personal connection, I presented it as a potential compassionate use case, a unique pediatric challenge that aligned with our research. We had prototypes of a new generation of smart stents designed specifically for growing bodies, still in preclinical trials, but showing immense promise. Ethan's specific condition made him a potential candidate. The reports came back, confirming the severity of his condition. Standard treatments weren't working. He was failing. My innovative stent, with its adaptable, dissolvable polymer, offered a glimmer of hope where others had none. It was a long shot, but it was a shot. I knew what I had to do. Not for Emma. Not for my parents. For Ethan. For the core of who I had become, a healer, an innovator, someone who refused to let any child suffer needlessly if she possessed the power to help. I messaged Jessica back. "I'll look into it. Please have them send all medical records to this secure email address. I'll need full access to his diagnostic history, treatment plans, and imaging. And make it clear, this is a professional assessment, strictly confidential. No other family contact." The medical records flooded in. It was heartbreaking. Such a tiny body, already so broken. My team and I worked around the clock, reviewing, analyzing, cross-referencing with our research. It confirmed what we suspected. Ethan was an ideal candidate for our latest pediatric stent prototype. The risk was high, but the potential reward was a normal life. The next step was a direct, professional meeting with Emma and Marcus. I arranged it through our clinical liaison at a neutral location, a private conference room at the hospital where Ethan was being treated. I walked in, flanked by Dr. Ramirez and our head of legal. Emma and Marcus were already there, looking drawn and terrified. My parents were not present. I had stipulated that. Emma's eyes met mine, wide with a mixture of fear, hope, and something that looked like shame. She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off gently. "Emma, Marcus, we're here to discuss Ethan's medical condition. This is a professional meeting. My company, Martinez Biomedical Solutions, has a technology that may be able to help Ethan. It's still experimental, but given his unique circumstances, we believe it offers the best chance. I need you to understand that this is purely a medical decision based on his case. My personal involvement is solely as the lead scientist developing this technology." Marcus, who looked utterly exhausted, spoke up. "Dr. Martinez, we understand. We're desperate. We just want our son to live." Emma just nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I laid out the facts, the risks, the potential benefits in clear, concise medical terms. I explained the compassionate use protocol, the rigorous monitoring required. They listened, asked intelligent questions, and ultimately gave their consent. The surgery was scheduled a few weeks later. I was there, not as the family member, but as the lead engineer and scientific consultant, overseeing the procedure, making sure our stent was implanted perfectly. It was a tense, hours-long operation. But when the lead surgeon emerged, a tired smile on his face, saying, "It's a success. The stent is functioning beautifully," a wave of profound relief washed over me. Over the next few months, Ethan made remarkable progress. His tiny body accepted the stent. The innovative polymer began to dissolve, slowly and precisely, allowing his heart tissue to heal and grow naturally around it. He started playing again, laughing. He was going to live. Throughout this period, I maintained a strict professional distance. I received regular updates on Ethan's condition, reviewed his progress reports, and offered scientific guidance. I never visited him in the hospital, never spoke to my parents, and only interacted with Emma and Marcus during formal medical consultations. Emma tried once, after a follow-up appointment, to pull me aside. Anita, she began, her voice small. Thank you. I I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry for everything. I looked at her, truly looked at her for the first time in years. The entitled golden child was gone, replaced by a scared, grateful mother. Emma, I said, my voice even, Ethan's recovery is a testament to the hard work of an incredible medical team and groundbreaking science. I'm glad we could help him. My focus is on ensuring he continues to thrive. I offered no warmth, no reconciliation, no opening for past grievances. Just a professional, distant courtesy. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. To see her vulnerability, to acknowledge her pain, and still hold my ground. But I had to. I couldn't let the past erode the peace I had fought so hard to build. My parents, of course, found out about Ethan. They learned through the hospital grapevine, through Emma, through the hushed whispers of the small community they lived in. Suddenly, the calls to my old phone number intensified. Voicemails from my mother, a mixture of tearful gratitude and a familiar undercurrent of expectation. Anita, you saved your nephew. You're a hero. We always knew you'd do something great. Now that everything is behind us, can't we just be a family again? Can't you come home? Dad's messages were more direct, more business-oriented. Anita, we're so proud. You've proven your abilities. Now, with Ethan's recovery, the family has a unique opportunity to invest in your company. We believe in you, darling. They still hadn't learned. They still viewed my actions, my success, as something to be leveraged, something that validated them. Not me. Not my purpose. I didn't respond. Not to any of it. Weeks later, Ethan was discharged, healthy and vibrant. His recovery became a quiet testament to the potential of our technology. It also became a personal validation for me. I had helped. Not because I was coerced, not because I sought approval, but because it was the right thing to do. And I had done it on my terms, without sacrificing my boundaries or my hard-won peace. The experience, while emotionally taxing, solidified my understanding of what true independence meant. It wasn't just financial or professional. It was emotional. It was the ability to act from a place of self-worth and integrity, unburdened by the need for external validation, especially from those who had once withheld it. My life continued to soar. Martinez Biomedical Solutions became a household name in medical technology. We expanded into regenerative medicine, neuroimplants, and AI-driven diagnostics. I was leading a company valued at over $1 billion, employing thousands, and genuinely changing the landscape of global healthcare. I owned more than just a home in Palo Alto. I had a sprawling estate with a state-of-the-art home lab, where I could still indulge my passion for pure research, away from the corporate din. My chosen family grew and deepened. Linda remained my constant advisor and friend, enjoying her semi-retirement while still actively contributing to MBS's scientific vision. Kevin and Lisa were indispensable partners, co-pilots in this incredible journey. I cultivated a rich life filled with purpose, meaningful relationships, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I was exactly where I was meant to be. The final, undeniable proof that I had truly moved on, that their rejection no longer held any power over me, came during a rare visit back to my old hometown for a medical conference. The local newspaper, aware of my presence, ran a feature story. It detailed my incredible achievements, my company's impact, my philanthropic efforts. It mentioned my roots, briefly, as a local girl who had gone on to achieve extraordinary things. My parents, predictably, contacted the reporter, eager to give their version of events, to bask in the reflected glory. The reporter, a sharp young woman, called me for a follow-up. "Dr. Martinez, your parents reached out. They're very proud. They painted a picture of a loving, supportive family who always encouraged your academic pursuits. They mentioned how they paid for your college, helped you get started." I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. "Is that what they said?" "Yes, they emphasized their support, especially financially." "Well," I said, my voice calm, clear, and utterly devoid of anger, "I suppose everyone has their own narrative. What I can tell you, truthfully, is that any success I've achieved has been entirely through my own efforts, my own determination, and the unwavering support of the mentors and colleagues who believed in me when I truly needed it. My journey was defined by independence, not by parental assistance. The article that followed was expertly crafted. It presented my version of events alongside my parents' saccharine narrative, allowing the reader to draw their own conclusions. It wasn't vindictive, it was simply truthful, juxtaposing two very different realities. The impact was subtle, but devastating to their carefully constructed public image. The local community, who had seen them parade Emma for years, suddenly had a fuller picture. I heard from Jessica again. Wow, Anita. That article. It's direct. People are talking. Let them talk, I replied. I've built my life on truth, not on convenient fictions. I haven't heard from my parents or Emma since that article. Their silence now felt different. Not angry, not manipulative, but simply defeated. The stage lights had been pulled from them, and they were left with their own performance. I often reflect on that moment in my parents' living room, when my dad told me I was on my own financially. It was meant to be a dismissal, a final word, a limitation. But it was, in fact, a liberation. They inadvertently set me free. Free to define my own worth, free to choose my own family, free to build a life driven by purpose and passion, not by the desperate craving for approval. Today, I'm 34. My company is on the cusp of launching a new medical implant that could cure a rare genetic heart condition in infants. It's pioneering work, the kind that will truly change lives on a fundamental level. I'm surrounded by people who uplift me, challenge me, and celebrate my authentic self. I have a partner who understands my drive and shares my values. My life is full, rich, and deeply satisfying. I don't carry anger anymore. There's no bitterness. Just a profound sense of gratitude for the journey, for the hard lessons learned, and for the incredible strength I found within myself when I had no choice but to stand on my own. My parents thought they were giving me nothing. In truth, they gave me everything. They gave me the gift of independence, and that gift allowed me to build a world far beyond anything they could have ever imagined for their quieter, less worthy daughter. I wouldn't change a single solitary step. Not a single one.